Welcome to Spilling the Tea with Dr. Joyce, a podcast that goes deeper than the highlight reel on social media. I'm Dr. Joyce Park, a board-certified dermatologist, content creator at Tea with MD, and founder of Skin Refinery Dermatology Clinic. Each week, I will be joined here by a remarkable guest, and together we'll discuss stories and strategies for balancing our challenging careers with our personal relationships while making time for beauty routines and self-care. So grab your favorite cup of tea, get comfy, and let's get ready to spill the tea together. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another podcast, videocast recording of Spilling the Tea with Dr. Joyce. And today we have a very special guest who is none other than Liah, an OG YouTuber that I've been following for a decade. And we are friends in real life too. So welcome to the podcast, Liah.
A decade, Joyce. Oh my God. Hello, everyone. My name is Liah, as Joyce introduced me kindly. So honored to be here. A huge fan of Dr. Joyce's work. Seriously, what she's doing over on TikTok, YouTube, and now long form podcast. I'm super excited to spill the tea with you.
Thank you. I know, a decade, not to date us, but you know, we've been around the block, so.
We're millennials, yes.
We are. I put together a little bio for Liah, so I'm just going to read that here, although she needs no introduction. Liah is a force in the beauty industry as she is an entrepreneur, OG content creator, and brand founder. Born in Korea and currently based in New York City, Liah is one of the top beauty influencers with more than 1 million subscribers on YouTube and all other social media platforms. She is the founder and CEO of Krave Beauty, a skincare brand whose mission is to liberate people from the stress and confusion in skincare. I met Liah back in 2018 when she first moved to New York City, and we have been friends through social media and in real life ever since, meeting up in New York City and also in Paris. Welcome to Spilling the Tea.
Yes. Thank you so much for that intro. Super excited for the conversation.
Yeah, of course. You've done so much, and I'm really excited to learn about your whole journey and how you made everything work. So just going back, take us back like a decade, like we mentioned. Mm-hmm. Take us back to when it all started. What made you want to start posting on YouTube?
Honestly, there's really no grand reason behind it. I'm not sure if that was your case too, Joyce, but I was really bored in my senior year of college. So it purely started out of boredom. I was studying architectural design, interior design in college in Korea back then. And I knew that I wasn't going to go into a design field after graduating. So I was kind of like looking around and observing the world and what's happening and what people are excited about. And back then, like Girls' Generation and like these more earlier generation of K-pop bands were just making a big splash internationally. And that naturally piqued global audiences' interest in Korean skincare, Korean beauty, like Korean makeup products. And I think that's why just living in Korea, that felt so natural for me to review products on YouTube. So that's how it all started back in 2012 or so. And I guess that was the best decision of my entire life that I, had to make, like by hitting that upload button. So it's been a long journey, but because of the start and a very humble beginning, I was able to get a job at a corporate job, like right after college in the beauty industry, and now to owning my brand. So it's been a very roller coaster ride for sure.
Wow, that is so fortuitous, but it has been the case in a lot of the guests that I've interviewed that they started posting on social media just out of interest or just because they wanted a hobby. And it wasn't like any of us set out on this with a career path in mind, like we were going to become professional content creators and brand founders and things like that. So it's really interesting how a lot of us share that common point of starting in our journey in that way. And when you were starting out, were you making videos in Korean then or in English? Like, how did you decide what audience you wanted to target?
Yeah, that's a really great question because a lot of people don't know this, but YouTube only came to Korea in like 2016, I want to say. So when I started 10 years ago, YouTube wasn't a thing at all in Korea. So that said, I was actually the very first Korea-based YouTuber to begin the entire YouTube journey. But because of that, I only thought that this was an English platform, so I was speaking English in my videos. Yeah, fun fact.
Wow. That is so cool. I feel like whenever you meet new people in a group, they're always like, tell me a fun fact that people wouldn't know about yourself. And that
I'm
is
gonna
such a
use that.
cool fact.
I'm gonna
You're
use
the
that.
first Korean YouTuber. Like that is so cool. And so you were building an audience and a community in a country that you didn't live in. And how was it that you managed to grow your channel so quickly and form such a like a dedicated community?
Right. I mean, it wasn't quick at all because I think now that I have like 1.2 million subscribers, if you kind of break it down into a span of a whole decade, it's a very incremental and very gradual process that I gained followers and viewership and subscribers online. So I don't think I had like one specific moment that just like hit a jackpot, to be honest. But after quitting my after quitting my corporate job, my full-time job, around 2015, 2016, that was when I started doing YouTube full time. And that was the moment where I actually pivoted my content from more like Korean makeup product review to more acne focused skincare. That was kind of like my little turning point in my YouTube career where a lot of audience really resonated with my own personal story with acne. And then a lot of people who have tried that and done that, been there, done that, have come to my YouTube channel and just found, I guess, a little glimmer of hope and they stuck around. And I think if you share a common skin concern or a skin struggle, you tend to bond. So I think that's why people on my YouTube channel were highly engaged because most of the people who come to my channel were going through a very similar journey in some way. So I think that's what brought me very closer to my community. And yeah, that was a really big moment for me.
Yeah, it sounds like that was kind of the inflection point for your channel where you were able to relate to your community. And I mean, you have such a genuine voice on your YouTube and all your social media platforms, but I can definitely see how your viewers would think, oh yeah, this is
Mm,
someone who's been through it too. She's like a friend who has similar skin struggles that we can
mm.
commiserate over. And for me, YouTube is the hardest channel for me and the one that I dread making content on the most, just because I've always been a short form content creator. I just started
Right.
my YouTube a year and a half ago and it's a slow growth compared to what I'm used
Absolutely.
to on other platforms. But at the same time, I'm just keeping at it, just slowly chugging along. And it's interesting because I think, and you can speak on this as well, the social media landscape has changed so much over the last 10, 15 years. I mean, YouTube was the original social media
Hmm.
platform. And then now, there's Instagram, I mean, Facebook, but who really uses that anymore? And then TikTok.
Yeah.
Um, what are some of the changes, both good and bad, I guess, that you've seen on social media over the years?
I think the short form content and just the whole paradigm shift to short form content has really democratized information first and foremost, and also, on the other hand, misinformation at the same time, which I know you're fighting a lot against.
Yes.
So that said, I think it really invited a lot of just new people on all of the platforms, including YouTube. So I love seeing just a random grandma on my TikTok for you page and just another random ajumma on my shorts feed. So I think in that sense, it really did lower the barrier to entry to each platforms as a creator. But on the other hand, people who are consuming, I think, are probably way more overwhelmed than ever because you're really surrounded by just a lot of dopamine push every single second, every single minute. And in each TikTok video, your brain has to decide if you want to watch this like 1 minute video in the first second or two before you swipe it. So I think that really has to do a lot with shortening our attention span or just I don't know, shortening our patience too overall. So that's really an interesting observation that I had with everyone right now, which kind of trickles down to how brand launches too with the products. You know, people's attention span is really short. So that said, you need to delight the customers with newness. So that means a lot of brands are trying to launch new products, and the product launch cycle has been going crazy. Like it's every consumer product industry right now is, I think, becoming like a fast fashion industry in some ways to keep the attention glued to the brand. And that's definitely not a healthy thing. But coming back to content, I still love consuming long form podcasts. YouTube videos are definitely something that I naturally gravitate towards because it's something that I can control more over than what the app is feeding me, like TikTok and Reels. And I think YouTube Shorts are great for entertainment purposes when I'm sitting in the toilet. But other than that, I want to choose what I want to consume, and just being more intentional about the consumption is something that I've been really trying to work hard towards. So would love to hear your thoughts too on how you observe this entire landscape shift and the paradigm shift, therefore how people think and values
Yeah.
shift.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Leah, about so many things you said. And I think it'll be interesting in, 10 years when
Mm.
researchers are looking at the effects of these dopamine hits and the effects on our attention span, how much TikTok will have affected, especially the younger generation that's really growing up with TikTok and short form content. I find even myself, I am quick to swipe. And oftentimes I'm doom scrolling at night before I go to bed. It's such a bad habit. And I realize,
Yeah.
30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour go by, and I'm like, what did I really accomplish? You know? So there definitely is that sense that we're all being trained to have really
Yeah.
short attention spans. And it feels like as a content creator, you have to just compete with a lot of other noise and content on
Mm.
the social media platforms. And it's harder to get your message out. And
Yeah.
one thing that I deal with personally is just burnout from creating
Mm.
content, because I mostly create short form content. Sometimes I make specific content for different platforms depending on how
Yeah.
they'll do. And then I make the long form content for YouTube. I love this podcast because it's more of a
Yeah.
conversation between me and friends. So it's a little bit easier and more natural for me to
Yeah.
create.
Mhm.
But I do run out of ideas. And sometimes I feel like everything's already been done. Like, what am I adding here? So I'd love to hear about, how do you go about creating content? What's your schedule? Do you like batch film everything in one day, or do you film a little bit every day? And how do you deal with burnout as a content creator?
I don't think I have the right answer or an answer, to be honest, to that question. I think that's what a lot of us as creators are probably feeling. But I do feel you when you said that there's so much noise out there. So everything's been done, and what can I add to this entire noise? And I think that's what I'm thinking a lot more. When it was just the long form days, I think there was a lot more blue ocean or white space in the content space where I could add value and I could fill in and I could have my own niche community. Whereas I think now, like all the little gaps and white spaces and blue oceans, like there's no blue ocean anymore. I feel like every gap has been filled. So that makes me want to create less, of course. And I think more and more I retract myself from adding noise onto the short form platform, especially. So I don't think I deal with a burnout. I think it's more of the creative rut in I don't know what people need in this information flood right now that I can really solve for. And that's what I want to find, right? I want to find an audience who is struggling with something that I can hopefully provide a solution to. And with YouTube, in my peak YouTube days, that was acne skincare content. And I think now that a lot of people are getting that information from elsewhere, I am back to square one in some ways on how do I provide value in a way that's not redundant and also is really reaching the people who need to be reached. So I don't know. Honestly, I've dabbled into a lot of sustainability side of the things and really breaking down how products are made in terms of how petroleum jelly is made and tracing it back to the very origin of petroleum and the crude oil and the manufacturing process. So that was more of a personally fulfilling content that I really loved making. And I'm still passionate about, asking people like, do you know where your products actually come from? Or do you know where your tamana oil comes from? So I think these are the things that piques my personal curiosity. And I think there could be an audience who might be interested in also learning more about these really deep dive into how your products are made. So I think I'm now at that kind of transitional point of what do I do? What do I want to do with the content? So yeah, maybe a little bit different case for compared to you, Joyce.
I think each of us have a unique case. And
Mm-hmm.
even for me, I also struggle with deciding what can I add at this moment that's different from maybe what other dermatologists are talking
Mm-hmm.
about. And I think it's a good thing actually that we are constantly being challenged to reflect on the type of content we're creating, because
Mm-hmm.
by having this constant challenge, we're able to adjust to the needs of our community.
Mm-hmm.
And those needs may change with time too. Like, for example, I've been doing some more like IVF skincare stuff. I've been doing some more like pregnancy skincare routines. And I think it can really change based on the season of life that we're
Mm-hmm.
in, what we're personally experiencing,
Mm-hmm.
and then also reflective of what our community might be going through. And I personally really enjoyed your content on sustainability. And I think you have a really unique perspective as a brand founder who knows about the whole process of bringing a product from product idea, conception, all the way to getting it on the shelves, that you really do have a unique insight into that entire process, like how the magic is done. So, I really appreciate your voice, and it's refreshing to hear that I'm not the only one struggling with trying to put together a content map or adjusting to changing landscapes. But I think a lot of people probably feel the way that we do.
No, absolutely. Our problems are not unique. Honestly, I think this is the conversation I have with a lot of creator friends of mine in person. And I think they all feel like uh, they do feel there's so much noise out there, and yet they don't know how to add value to this noise, I guess.
Well, one way that I think that you have found to add value in a very different way from a content creator is your brand through Krave Beauty, right? And so I want to dive a little bit into that and learn about why you created Krave Beauty, and if you could tell us a little bit about your journey as a brand founder.
Yeah. What a great segue. So I started Crave Beauty because I wanted to basically like cut through this noise because we talked a lot about the noise in the social media landscape, but I think there's a lot of noise and a lot of clutter and a lot of overwhelm in the product industry, especially the beauty industry as well. And I kind of briefly mentioned to you that I feel like the beauty industry is becoming more like fast fashion. I think your skin is not a fashion item there, but you see there are so many new categories that I don't know. I don't know where it's going to be used on. But when I was working for Amore Pacific, another beauty conglomerate company, what I realized was that when people are developing products, rarely do that conversation starts from how can we solve this customer's pain point? It actually starts from we need to hit this amount of revenue. Therefore, we need to launch XYZ products to fill the gap. And I felt so I don't know. It brought me a very new perspective on how things work. But if you think about the entire capitalism society that we're in, it's very easy to focus more on shareholders' value over stakeholders' value. So as a customer, I never thought that I was really talked to in a way that I'm respected. It was mostly about because I have acne prone skin, I need to buy into all of these 20-step skincare routine, or I need to buy this or that. So I was a customer who would buy into all these trends only to realize that nothing works and everything is just inflaming and sensitizing my skin. And you're a dermatologist, so you would know that less is often more for people who have
100%. Yeah.
sensitized, inflamed skin, like acne prone skin. But no one told me that because the industry wants to sell you more products. So I wanted to create a brand that actually, I guess, doesn't manipulate the customer to think like they need to buy all these products to have a perfect skin. Because at the end of the day, I think topical products are not drugs. They're meant to support the natural skin's functionality, not to overtake it or change the entire physiology. So that was a very long-winded answer to just saying that Krave Beauty is here to really take out the noise and hopefully take care of the customer's skin in the right way, in the most honest way possible.
I love that. I mean, that's such an amazing brand philosophy because as a dermatologist, I see people come in to see me with a plastic bag filled with products or like an entire, caddy filled with products, and their skin barrier is inflamed. They're using too many actives that are destroying their skin barrier. And I do think there's a lot of confusion over how to make a simple and effective skincare routine using simple and effective ingredients.
Yeah.
So I think what you've set out to do is very special and very much needed in this industry where I haven't heard it referred to before as fast fashion for skin, but I totally can understand and see how that's what the skincare industry and beauty industry is becoming, possibly because of our short attention spans and the need for and this craving for newness all the time. So I think that's an amazing brand philosophy. And it's been so awesome as a friend to watch from the sidelines, to watch you grow your business and watch it succeed. I love the sunscreen. The Beat the Sun. Like, it's so elegant, no white cast, rubs in so well. And I remember during the pandemic, I remember texting you about this, or reading about it, but there was a little bit of controversy over how some other Korean SPFs were not actually matching the labeled SPF due to testing. And at the time you came out and you were very honest and vulnerable because you said that, we're going to retest our sunscreens and reformulate it. And I just wanted to hear from you about that whole experience and how that affected you and how that affected Krave Beauty.
Yeah, that was not the prettiest time, but it was definitely something that I'm glad we went through it, that crisis and that kind of hardship as a company, as a business. So when that controversy happened for Korean SPF brands, it really did make me question about our sunscreen that we were selling in Korea, because we did manufacture and formulate our product in Korea using a Korean third-party testing lab to test for the SPF results, although we did test with the ISO standards 2444. However, when we found out that the test result didn't meet the SPF claim that we had, that was, no question asked, to be honest. It was the easiest decision. I mean, it was the hardest decision, but in a way it was the easiest decision to pull the product from out of the market. I know that this problem is not unique to me or unique to Korean sunscreens in general. It's a more industry issue. And when I spoke to and interviewed a lot of SPF testing regulation makers, there's a whole symposium around people who decide on how to test SPF in the most accurate way, because testing lab A can give you a different result from testing lab B and C. It really comes down to the entire environment the people are testing on, and also the lab technician who's actually reading and analyzing the results, and also the contestants who are coming to get their skin checked for the SPF testing. So I think there are so many variables that I know for sure that the industry recognizes that this current SPF testing methodology is not perfect. So they are, in the back end making a much better and much more accurate testing method, which I believe that they have been constantly discussing for a whole year now. So we'll see what the industry comes out with. But I think that made me realize, wow, like there's so many sunscreens out there that might not meet the SPF claim, but also it's not the brand's fault because the brand did probably the testing. It could be the issues with testing in the labs, but we're not here to point fingers and anything, but I think as an industry, like we need to just know like how the SPFs are tested in the most like in like all the single little details too. And I think the entire incident of us discontinuing our sunscreen made us do that. And that prepared us for reformulating and retesting our sunscreen with our newly launched Beta Sun in the most like rigorous way ever. We used 3 different testing labs. And honestly, like we got varying results from 3 different testing labs. So who knows
Right.
which lab has the most accurate SPF testing result, right? So we'll see. Yeah.
This is so almost like scary to me to hear as a dermatologist, because I spend so much of my career and my time telling people to wear sunscreen. But as a dermatologist and as a consumer of sunscreens, like how do you know that you can really trust the stated SPF on the label? Because I can only make a decision based off of the brand. And I'm trusting that the brand has done the due diligence, that they chose a good lab. Is there advice that you have for consumers about how to choose a good sunscreen where we can really trust the labeled SPF?
Oh, that's a hard one. I think first and foremost, if a brand is transparent in disclosing their entire test results, and it comes from more than one lab, I think you have a pretty good source there. I think I can trust a brand who provides at least 2 different test results, and they went for a lower SPF level. I would definitely trust that. I think for consumers, it's really frustrating because besides that, there's really no way to know if your sunscreen is actually the SPF level at what you are expecting to. So I would just apply double the amount of sunscreen to make sure that I'm just getting an adequate amount of like protection blanket on top of my skin. I think that's the only way to go to really encourage other people, as a dermatologist, to recommend your patients and your viewers to apply more than you might think what is adequate. I think is the only answer, which I know it's a very sad one, but it's the only realistic answer that I can give.
No, I mean, I think that makes sense. And then also because people don't apply enough to begin with. So you should always apply more than you think. And then also to use other sun protective measures, such as big sun hats, sunglasses, reapplying every 2 hours, and also staying out of the sun during peak sun hours. All of those things, I think it forms a total protection plan. So not just relying solely on SPF. Yeah.
That's hard.
Oh man. Well, thank you for sharing your journey. I mean, I really think that you definitely showed the integrity that you have as a brand founder, but also for Krave Beauty in setting that standard, because what you said is absolutely true, that if you guys found that issue with multiple mislabeled SPFs, I'm sure that it is more commonplace that we think. So I think that you really set an example for sunscreen brands, and hopefully, as you mentioned, we'll just improve sunscreen testing globally so that we won't have as much of these issues in the future.
Yeah, I'm so sure it's in the works. I was looking at I'll provide you that website, which I'm blanking on right now, but that also has
No
a
worries.
full update on the whole SPF testing process.
That's great. And then just to be mindful of your time, to wrap up here, one thing that I always like to ask all my guests about is, we talk a lot about self-care and how we take care of ourselves on social media. And I'm just curious, what do you do as your self-care routine, whether it's beauty routine, skincare, exercise? How do you make time to take care of you and your mental health when you are so busy as a content creator and a brand founder?
Yeah, I have started rock climbing earlier this year, which has been such a great self-care, exercise for me because I think as often you're a content creator or a business owner, you tend to just get occupied by work 24/7. And I think when you're just climbing the wall, you literally can't think of anything else but surviving, but to not fall and just focusing on the next hold and the next move. So that really does clear my brain whenever I'm there. I'm like fully present with me and the wall and I'm just here to survive the next hold. So that really did had a huge positive impact on my mental health and physical health, of course. So I cannot recommend rock climbing enough, to be honest.
Oh, wow. Are you going to a rock climbing gym or do you actually go out and climb the mountain?
Oh my God. I wish I'm that skilled, to be honest,
One
but I
day.
go to the climbing gym and then I started going to the climbing gym after watching the Ultimate Beastmaster on Netflix, which is do you know what it is?
No.
Oh, you have to watch it. It's like a survival show for a lot of athletes just coming, and a lot of the winners are rock climbers, but they look so like petite compared to other athletes. So I was like really curious about what this rock climbing is. So yeah, really fun.
Oh, I love that. Oh, well, I'm really glad that you have that activity that is your form of self-care because I know
Yeah.
you're super, super busy and this allows you to kind of reset your mind and your mood. And it's a time when you cannot be checking your phone. So
Yeah.
that's always a good thing. Well, thank you so much, Liah, for taking the time to chat with me today. And thank you for being very honest and vulnerable about your journey. I think a lot of us can relate to many of the things that you talked about. So just thank you for this conversation.
Thank you for having me. I know I rambled a lot, so
No, you were great.
thank
You
you,
were
thank you.
amazing.
It's an
And for
honor.
everyone who is not already following Liah, do you want to just share your channels so that everyone can follow along with you on your journey?
Absolutely. It is LIAHYOO on all platforms, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much, Liah. Until next
Thank you.
time.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining us today for our real, unfiltered conversations. If you haven't already, don't forget to hit subscribe on your favorite audio podcast platform. And if you're more visually inclined, all of our video podcast episodes are available on my YouTube channel at Tea with MD. For more beauty and skincare content, don't forget to check out my Instagram and TikTok at Tea with MD. Remember, life isn't just about the curated content we see on social media. It's about these real conversations we have with each other. So continue spilling the tea with your friends, family, and loved ones. And together we can create a more open, connected, and authentic community. Until next time.